Hey y'all, welcome to our third week of our Advent and Christmas retreat, Living with Hope. This is an exciting week in our season of Advent. It is the third Sunday of Advent, which is also known as Gaudete Sunday, or as I always like to think of it, it's the Sunday we light the pink candle. And what's always neat about the pink candle, as a child, I can remember when we got to that candle in the Advent wreath, I knew that there was reason to celebrate, and I knew there was reason to get excited and rejoice because the Christmas was just around the corner. And that is ultimately what this Sunday of Advent and this week of Advent is about, is rejoicing because the Lord is near, and rejoicing because we are very close to celebrating his birth at Christmas. This week, our companion for the week is Jesus' father, Saint Joseph. And while we don't hear of him in our readings this week, I thought there's no way we can do this retreat without pausing and looking at Saint Joseph and the role and impact he had in Jesus' life. So who is Saint Joseph? We hear of him in Matthew's Gospels. And what we hear is he was betrothed to the Virgin Mary. And Mary was found with child. And Joseph's plan was to divorce her quietly. But in a dream, an angel appears and tells him, "Do not be afraid, Joseph. Take Mary as your wife and into your home." And the child was conceived through the Holy Spirit. And the angel tells Joseph, "You're going to bear a son, and you're going to name him Jesus, and he will save people from their sins." Just as that Isaiah had promised years and years and years ago, before Joseph was around, that there would be a virgin that bore a son and named him Emmanuel, which means God with us. And so what Joseph did was he did exactly what the angel commanded. He took his wife Mary into his home, and she bore him a son. And Joseph had no relations with his wife until his son was born. So why does Joseph matter? Why is he somebody that it's worth our time to pause and look at? One of the first things that always strikes me about Joseph is he is not a man of words. We don't ever really hear him speak, but he is a man of action. When the angel comes, we just see that he quietly went about and did what the angel asked of him. I believe Joseph teaches us about how to hear God's voice and to say yes with our actions. Think about all the concrete gestures of love that Joseph must have shown to Jesus and Mary. We see Joseph bringing Mary into his home and loving her. Often when we have images of Joseph, it's him walking the donkey with Mary riding on it on their way to Bethlehem. Even in that concrete gesture of Joseph walking and Mary pregnant and riding on the donkey, we see something of the way Joseph loves through his actions. Joseph found a place for his wife who was with child to rest. Even though the inn was full, he found a place for his family in a manger. And after Jesus is born, an angel visits him again in a dream and warns him that it's not safe to return home yet, and that it's time for him and he needs to flee with his family to Egypt because of what Herod was doing to all the infant sons at the time and the massacre of the infants. So again, we have Joseph who shows his love by taking his family to safety and bringing them to Egypt. And it's in that time too we see Joseph presenting his son Jesus in the temple, where Anna and Simeon both come and say to Joseph and to Mary that they understand something about their infant son, about Jesus, that this is the Messiah, the promised one that all of Israel has been waiting for. Can you imagine the other concrete gestures of holiness and love and mercy that Joseph must have shown Jesus? We know that Joseph was a carpenter, and Jesus supposedly apprenticed with him. Just as I watch my husband love our children and model for them different ways to love and to know that they are loved. I can imagine that Joseph does the same and did the same for Jesus. So as we think about Joseph this week, during our third week of Advent, our week of joy and our week of rejoicing, I invite you just to consider how Joseph participated in the unfolding of God's plan and in the unfolding of Jesus' birth. Think about how Joseph must have been ready to say yes to God's request, and how Joseph's love for Jesus helped Jesus be readied to say yes to what God was asking of him as an adult. So what was Joseph's role in bringing Christ into the world? I invite you to think about that this week, because it was through his work and through his efforts that the true source of our joy was born into this world. And finally, like I said, Joseph was a man of action. And I love how at the very end of the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius, when we are invited to pray on God's love for us, Ignatius says that love shows itself in deeds more than words. And Joseph models this for us in a very profound way. His actions are always modeling for us the way to love. So what is the action that you are called to this week? What is the action that you're called to throughout this year of mercy in the realm of showing love and mercy to those in your day-to-day life? And know that as you make your retreat this week, and as we journey ever closer to the celebration of Christ's birth, that I will always be praying for you.